one person is working, there are several others that are dependent on him.
House of Representatives to the rescue. Passes economic stimulus bill to alleviate burden of coronavirus on citizens.
His Excellency is doing very fine. It's not showing any sign or symptoms up to this time that we are making this press briefing.
Rising COVID-19 cases galvanized national and state response as Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State tests positive to coronavirus. Plus, beware of fraudulent coronavirus ransomware. Federal government cautions Nigerians. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the Network News tonight. I'm Ian Ray John. Reading with me are Hingino John Adams in Lagos, Kemi Akinwande is in Ibadan, and Mohammed Ibrahim will join us in the course of the bulletin from Maiduguri. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 2 new cases of coronavirus in Nigeria, one in the FCT and the other in Bauchi State. The cases have travel history to Germany and the United Kingdom. The latest diagnosis brings the total number of confirmed cases in Nigeria to 44. Meanwhile, there is panic in Bauchi, especially at the government house after the state governor, Senator Bala Mohammed, tested positive to coronavirus. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that a blood sample of his deputy has been collected for test.
Now that it has been confirmed that Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed has tested positive of the COVID-19, the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency has stepped up measures towards curtailing the spread of the disease. The State Commissioner of Health, Aliu Meguru, while briefing journalists on the development, assured the people of the state that necessary measures have been put in place in order to check the excesses of COVID-19.
His Excellency is doing very fine. He's not showing any sign or symptoms up to this time that we are making this press briefing. And he is already in quarantine, and he has already started receiving medication.
Now, there are 2 things that is on ground in Bauchi State. We have issue of Lassa, which kill faster than Corona. Corona has low case fatality rate than Lassa fever. We have 41.5% of death, and then Corona we have 0 death now. And we have 1 case. So you can see we have to look, we have to also work towards making sure that nobody comes up with Lassa fever or coronavirus again.
This development, over 20 more blood samples have been taken for clinical tests. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
And still on the pandemic, the Senate has adjourned for 2 weeks to reconvene on the 7th of next month as a preventive measure against the spread of COVID-19. Both chambers of the National Assembly had last week restricted visitors from entering the precinct of the National Assembly, with the Senate suspending all public hearings. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The Senate reconvened for Tuesday's plenary amidst palpable tension created by the rampaging COVID-19. It immediately dissolved into a closed-door session, which lasted 2 hours, after which the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, reports on the outcome of the executive session.
The Senate further resolved to adjourn sitting for 2 weeks from today due to the pandemic of coronavirus ravaging the entire world. The federal government should give financial and other resource assistance to the states in the fight against the virus.
The atmosphere in the Senate chamber further became sober when the majority leader announced the death of the senator representing Cross River North Senatorial District, Senator Rose Oko, who died in the United Kingdom. At the Senate press corps, Chairman Senate Committee on Health Ibrahim Oloriegbe announced that no senator has tested positive to the COVID-19 virus.
So far, I must tell you that there's no senator that has tested positive, as far as my knowledge is concerned, as at this morning.
Yes. We have agencies of government in the various airports, and none of these agencies of government have complained to the Senate that so-so and so-so have refused to follow the due process.
At the moment, no senator has exhibited symptoms of the virus. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And still on the virus, the House of Representatives has passed an emergency economic stimulus bill 2020, which made provisions to put in place measures to alleviate financial burden on citizens in response to economic downturn occasioned by the coronavirus. National Assembly correspondent Nabi Ali reports.
The emergency economic stimulus bill is sponsored by the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, and the entire leadership of the House. It was given accelerated passage as it went through first, second and third reading as plenary Tuesday. Other features of the bill include suspension of import duties on all medical items needed to tackle the coronavirus, protecting employment status of Nigerians who might become unemployed, and providing temporary tax relief to companies and individuals to alleviate economic consequences of the pandemic.
When you're redundant and you're not earning a salary, when one person is working, there are several others that are dependent on him. So when you save the job of that person and you give an employer the incentive not to follow or not to fire that employee, you are saving thousands of people who are dependent on him.
Plenary also adopted a 3-point resolution matter of urgent public importance raised by the Speaker and the House leadership, urging the federal government to use vacated hostels of federal government colleges across the country as emergency isolation centers for COVID-19. The key feature of the resolution is that the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria should brief the House leadership on details of CBN's policy measures in response to coronavirus, including the procedure for the disbursement of intervention funds. Plenary was thereafter adjourned to 7th of April 2020, but may reconvene within the period should an emergency arise that requires legislative intervention. In a related development, House spokesman Representative Benjamin Kalu has described as fake news reports being circulated on some media platforms that some lawmakers of the 9th National Assembly have been confirmed to have coronavirus and are receiving treatment at private hospitals.
That story was a fake news. NCDC could not confirm.
He also said the purported communication addressed to the House leadership on allegations that some lawmakers refuse subjecting themselves for screening at airports is the handwork of mischief makers. Meanwhile, the House, through its Committee on Tuberculosis, chaired by Abubakar Sariki-Dahiru, has urged the federal government to collaborate with partners to combat tuberculosis, being the world's leading infectious killer disease.
The only thing that can stop these things is by buying all these testing machines.
From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now, looking at the effect of coronavirus on the economy, the Monetary Policy Committee has held monetary policy rate at 13.5% and retained all parameters as global economic situation worsens. Governor of the Central Bank at the end of the second meeting in 2020 of the committee says it became necessary to allow recent stimulus steps taken by the bank come into effect. Leah Katung Babatunde completes the story.
Is the second meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee for the year 2020. Unlike January, where weak global growth projections was the driving force for maintaining rates with the exception of an increase in cash reserve ratio by 500 basis points. Coronavirus is a large determinant here, a pandemic that has gradually etched itself into the sands of history. The concern is further fueled by rising inflation, global economic uncertainty, weak oil prices, reduced revenue, and projected slow GDP growth.
Reduction of price modulation, resulting in reduction in the pump price of PMS from 145 to 125 naira per litre, and its contributory effect in boosting aggregate demand, lowering inflation, and improving the wealth of the low income in the society.
The Apex Bank recently unveiled the first set of interventions to cushion the negative impact of the deadly coronavirus to the tune of 3.5 trillion naira, with a reasonable proportion going to healthcare provision and a commitment to support local pharmaceutical companies. Governor Mefele say the MPC resolved to allow the stimulus measures to permeate, as increasing the MPR will be counterproductive.
The committee, nevertheless, was of the view that there was a need to be cautious in loosening, given the fact that it will exacerbate an already worsening inflationary condition, resulting in massive pressure on reserves and exchange rate.
The committee resolved to keep the benchmark interest rate MPR at 13.5%, cash reserve ratio held at 27.5%, the asymmetric corridor retained at plus 200 basis points and minus 500 basis points around the MPR, and the liquidity ratio retained at 30%. In Abuja, Leah Katung-Babatunde, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed has directed FCTA staff from grade level 1 to 12 to stay at home, effective from Tuesday, 24th March 2020, as a measure to contain COVID-19. The Minister gave the directive at a media briefing in Abuja. Shaibu Onoze Yakubu tells us more.
Essential workers from grade level 1 to 12 are exempted from the stay-at-home policy of the FCT administration. However, public gatherings in parks, gardens, bars, nightclubs, events, and football viewing centers, among others, are banned, while shops in markets and neighborhood centers in the FCT are to be shut down, with the exception of those selling essential commodities like pharmacies and bakeries, but must abide with the laid-down preventive measures. FCT Minister Muhammadu says to effectively manage cases of infection, the administration will work closely with the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital to expand capacity of the current isolation and treatment center.
General Hospital will also be converted into an isolation and treatment center to accommodate more patients should the need arise. Other location and treatment facilities are also being prepared.
All area councils since yesterday also keyed to all these rules. Only executive and essential staff will be available to render usual service, for we cannot shut down completely.
So far, 7 confirmed cases have been recorded in the FCT with 1 death. Shaibu Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
It was an unusual scene at the Federal Secretariat, as most workers have complied with the compulsory stay at home of non-essential public servants. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
The Federal Secretariat houses most of the federal civil servants. On arrival, workers are meant to use the hand sanitizer before they gain entry.
Bring out your ID card, let me see.
Unlike before, the gate is partially closed to be able to screen them based on their grade levels. At the main entrance to the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation, affected workers were asked to turn back by the security operatives to ensure full compliance.
It's a circular. That's why I'm here with my operatives to ensure compliance.
Let's say from 13 to 17, they are not that much. They can know how to work it out.
Most of the offices are being locked because of the fear of the coronavirus of
That's the best any government can do, is to let its people go home so that they can be on a safer side.
Although the Federal Civil Service has about 70% of its staff on grade level 12 and below, it is at the discretion of heads of all agencies to determine which staff is performing essential duties. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
And still on COVID-19, more states in the country have continued to intensify efforts towards containing the spread of COVID-19. Abubakar Usman Akwanga compiled reports from across the country on the level of compliance with the stay-at-home directive.
Although in Nasarawa State, there is no order for stay at home as people are going about their lawful businesses. Ministries, departments and agencies of government as well as private offices are open for businesses. But however, without hand sanitizers at the entrance of offices for use, as the case in many parts of the country. Residents say they are aware and will promote good hygiene.
We have been telling our people to stay each to each other. We have been telling our people to wash their hands before using it, always. We have been telling people to take care of themselves.
From everything, we noticed that it is now in Nigeria and several people have contacted it, so we have to take precautions not to get affected with the virus too.
We were told to put off our hand gloves, to wash our hand either with warm water or sanitizers, which probably I've observed that today, but I don't have my hand glove with me, and that's why I'm putting on my nose cover.
They've told us in the church, and when I was coming this morning, I saw the bankers. They were abusing, putting hand sanitizer on people's hands, those people entering bank.
The situation is different in public and private schools as they have closed in compliance with the state government directive. At the Dalhatu Arab Specialist Hospital, Lafia, where one of the isolation centers in the state is located, the team lead COVID management says they are ready to contain the disease.
If we have a case now, we have an isolation center where we can keep the patient. We have adequate PPEs. We have the necessary, some of the medications that are recommended, especially for supportive care. And we also have a communication with the National Center for Disease Control so that when we take samples, they can be conveyed to Abuja for the testing and confirmation of the patient. So, and I think basically with that, if we have any suspected case, we can confirm the case and treat adequately, at least to a certain extent here.
Meanwhile, Governor Abdullahi Sule has been holding series of meetings with stakeholders on how to contain the dreaded disease in the state.
And since we have the most proximity, then these are the times that also disadvantages of proximity can bring to you. Therefore, if anybody should be getting ready, we should get more ready than all the states that have proximity to the federal country.
So far, Nasarawa has not recorded any case of coronavirus. In Lafia, Mohammed, NTA News.
That report was on coronavirus in Nasarawa and the way citizens are containing it. As coronavirus rages, let's join Higino in Lagos for impact on the commercial hub of the country.
Thank you, Ianre. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced the closure of all non-essential markets and stores in the state with effect from Thursday, the 26th of March, for 1 week as confirmed cases of COVID-19 rises to 29 in the state. Nosa Osla reports that the governor, while giving update on coronavirus, also ordered the closure of all public parks, swimming pools, gyms, and other public places.
This will be the third major move of the state government after shutting down large academic, religious and social gatherings, as well as government offices with the stay-at-home order for civil servants between levels 1 and 12. Addressing the media alongside heads of various security formations in the state and members of the State Executive Council, Governor Sanwo-Olu explained that only those selling essential products like food and medicals are allowed to open markets. He also revealed the minimum number of people that could gather at a time to 25 from the initial 50.
In life, things do happen. So you are making a financial loss for a week as against staying alive for the rest of your life. So that's why I'm saying that we're closing them down at first instance for 7 days. So meaning that it's not open-ended.
Governor Sanwo-Olu encouraged the organized private sector and banks to imbibe the work-from-home policy at this time, as he added that he has directed law courts to suspend all sittings. The governor also urged residents to, as much as possible, limit movement to their neighborhood to avoid further spread of coronavirus, while advising them to abide by the social distancing strategy and help government in creating awareness of the virus in rural communities. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
Meanwhile, there is total compliance with the federal government's directive on restriction of international flights at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Adeola Kome Akere, who monitored the situation, says some foreign nationals are still pondering on how to navigate their way back home. Adeola, over to you.
Thank you, Studio.
This is the departure wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, and there is nothing to show that there is any form of activity taking place here. All the check-in counters are empty, but for one or two officers, staff of the airport on duty, everything is at a standstill. Well, we were surprised to see this group of people at the entrance of the airport saying that they have their boarding passes to depart the country Tuesday. And it took a lot of convincing from the security operatives at the entrance to tell them that there is no flight coming into the country or leaving the country.
Why I'm out here with my luggage is because we went to enter the gate because I have a flight booked with British Airways to go to London to take me to Texas to go back to Calgary, Alberta, Canada. At 11:15 p.m. this evening, I was informed it was supposed to leave. British Airways did not send me an email regarding any cancellation. There was no new information sent to my email at all regarding this trip.
Every nation of the world is putting stringent measures in place to curb this coronavirus spread. They have closed borders. They are saying stay at home. Nigeria is not an exception. So it therefore behoves on all Nigerians to strictly adhere to the preventive measures to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. It's back to you, studio.
Fraud stars despite ravaging coronavirus pandemic. Details when we return.
Welcome back. The federal government has alerted Nigerians on the existence of an Android-based malicious and fraudulent coronavirus ransomware application which claims to provide updates on the virus and infections near users. In a statement signed by Segun Adeyemi, Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Mohammed says the ransomware blocks access to users' personal data and accounts and threatens deletion unless users pay $100 in Bitcoin within 48 hours. He said the ransomware app detected on the website www.coronavirusapp.site prompts users to download an Android app purportedly for coronavirus map tracking and heat map visuals. Mohammed adds that the development confirms warnings against cyber criminals seeking to exploit the growing spread of the virus for nefarious gains. He therefore calls on the general public not to download the ransomware app and seek updates on the pandemic only from the appropriate authorities. Leadership of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, has urged its members to support government's efforts at curtailing the spread of coronavirus by using their platforms to educate Nigerians on safety measures on the pandemic. Adebola Brooks-Linsande brings us details.
Ever since the World Health Organization declared coronavirus a pandemic, the federal government of Nigeria has intensified measures to curb the spread of the virus. Encouraged by government's efforts, Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, said all its members must support the government to achieve its aim.
It's a duty on us to help sensitize the general public. We want to appreciate the position of the government so far. The government has been proactive.
Executive member and Director General of Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, said the proactive measures by the president is commendable, especially as the world struggles on what to eat.
Because when critical times like the coronavirus comes, we don't pray it comes every day, and the oil price nosedives, the Nigerians should not panic if we can produce what we eat.
In every news we do or every program we try to put like a 5-minute program for the COVID-19, both in Hausa and English.
In ensuring that we maintain personal hygiene, we follow the rules, we respect constituted authority, we listen to the experts.
BON is the umbrella body of all broadcast outfits in Nigeria. Adebola Brooks-Linsande, NTA News.
Number of passengers have reduced drastically, with about 50% at the Idu train station, Abuja, as a result of the coronavirus. Correspondent Oyinaya Kaluwoka was at the station earlier in the day and reports that the drop did not affect movement and that the federal government is scaling up precautionary measures to check the spread of the virus.
Nigerian Railway Corporation has stepped up measures against the spread of the virus in all their stations. From the entrance to the departure hall at the Idu train station, passengers and officials of the Nigerian Railway Corporation are made to follow the basic protective measures against coronavirus.
People are complying and not voters.
We don't encourage passengers moving from one coach to
Inside the train, some passengers are seen with facial masks, while some bought 2 tickets in order to maintain social distancing.
I just want to relax on my back. I pay for these 2 seats.
We have appreciated what the government has taken the measures in making people to comply, to protect themselves.
The seats are vacant as the level of passengers has dropped in the last 2 days from more than 5,000 passengers daily to about 1,700 passengers now.
The drop is so drastic because yesterday we had only 1,700 passengers from both ends. When I said from both ends, that is from those coming into Abuja and those going out of Abuja.
The station may have taken measures, but how far with the cab drivers who pick passengers? How prepared are the taxi drivers?
God will see for us, all of us. Madam.
We are just putting our mind to God that God will protect us, but there's some equipment that they have been giving to us to protect our mouth. And
why are you not putting it on?
I leave it in my office.
We are aware of the virus, but we left things for God.
As the train keeps running daily, the corporation says it will continue to keep up with the measures against the spread of COVID-19. Oyinaya Kaluwoka, NTA News.
We're not done with coronavirus yet. From 1 to over 40 cases of coronavirus diagnosis in Nigeria, the emphasis on social distancing as a measure to curtail the spread in Nigeria undoubtedly is justified. While this is possible within open areas, how achievable is it within the transport sector, which confines passengers with transporters, mostly about maximizing profit? Oyemi Ajayi went round some parks in the FCT and files in this report.
Is a new look in town, a common sight in the city. But how long will this fad last? As long as the unwanted deadly visitor, coronavirus, is in town. To contain the spread, campaign for proper hygiene and social distancing has been as preventive measures by government at all levels. As essential as transportation is, the Federal Road Safety Corps cautions against overloading of passengers with strict penalties for defaulters. This is the Jabi Park, a terminus for transporters across the country in Abuja. And these are the executives of the National Union of Road Transport Workers deliberating on the social distancing compliance within the parks.
Into the entrance, we have hand sanitizers. In the back here, we carry 3. We are even contemplating on reducing the 3 we carry at the back to 2.
At other parks, we observe adherence at lowest level, as some vehicles were seen with more than the approved number of passengers.
Do you think you are safe in this bus now?
Sure, by God's grace, we are safe.
I don't see anything about this. It's just a mindset.
Overloading has its own fine.
The World Health Organization stipulates 3 meters distance between people, as it stands for the commercial motor drivers, motorcycle riders and tricycle riders. How achievable is it? In Abuja, Oyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
The Nigeria Police Force is also concerned about coronavirus as it has intensified efforts to ensure that public safety, law and order are maintained as the country takes measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. Francis Form reports on police enforcement of compliance with different orders given to protect citizens.
It is often said that drastic times requires drastic measures, and the issue of coronavirus pandemic is seen as one of such times. Government at all levels are taking measures to curb the spread of the pandemic, and as the enforcers of law and order, the police is working to ensure compliance. Top of this is the ban on public gathering of more than 50 people.
Members of the public have also keyed into this particular effort by government to ensure that infection rates are kept to the nearest minimum.
The police is also going to equity with clean hands as it has put in place and is observing the basics as advised by medical experts on curbing COVID-19. With this, the police has the license to enforce compliance with lawful orders issued by constituted authorities, not only coercion, but also by persuasion.
We're also embarking on massive sensitization campaigns. We are carrying out a lot of monitorings, and as far as our concerned, the level of compliance from the various parts of the country have been quite encouraging. On our part, as law enforcement agents, we also realize the need for us to also lead by example.
The police appeals to the public to abide by laws and work with all agencies for Nigeria to collectively stop COVID-19 on its track. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Kano State government has debunked rumors on a suspected case of COVID-19 at Malam Aminu Kano International Airport. Special advisor to the governor on media, Salihu Tanko Yakasai, made this known in an exclusive interview with NTA News. Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports.
The suspected case is of a 17-year-old boy who flew from Lagos to Kano with Air Peace this Tuesday morning. The boy was said to have vomited in the aircraft. Upon landing, the pilot refused to open the airplane for safety reasons and called for the attention of Center for Disease Control (CDC) team of experts to examine the boy. He was then rushed to the airport isolation center where a preliminary test was run, and it was determined by the co-chair, Kano State Task Force on COVID-19, Professor Abdulrazak Habib, as negative and did not display any symptoms of the deadly virus. Special Assistant to Kano State Governor Salihu Tanko Yakasai shed more light on the issue.
Preliminary investigation revealed that the passenger was a first-time flyer in an airplane and also has a little bit of history of malaria. So that led to the situation.
Taking extra precaution, the CDC team collected data of all passengers on board and spread them with disinfectant as well as the aircraft. The best safety measures still remains, as experts say, stay at home, practice social distancing. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Garai, NTA News.
It's all about COVID-19, and the Defense Headquarters says it has put in place 4 hospitals to support other health care facilities provided by the Federal Ministry of Health to counter the COVID-19 outbreak in Nigeria. The coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, disclosed this while addressing journalists on updates of ongoing joint armed forces operations across the country. Ismail Musa reports.
The military, a multi-sectoral agency, has prepared 4 medical centers to support the containment of COVID-19. 1 in Abuja, Kaduna, Port Harcourt and Lagos.
We have 4 of them on standby with the facilities to quarantine and then to eventually treat. So, and then as a backup, like we are having in other countries to enforce, if there is going to be a lockdown, yes, we have the resources to ensure that the lockdown is effective if it comes up.
Major General John Enenche notes that the land, air and sea component of Operation Lafia Dole and Sector 4 multinational joint task force have eliminated 54 and captured 4 Boko Haram members within the last 7 days.
Troops of Sector 4 multinational joint task force also successfully repelled the Boko Haram terrorist attack at Tumo in the Republic of Niger. During the attack, 48 terrorists were invalidated, that is killed, while 4 others were captured alive by the troops.
The Defense Headquarters stressed that the operations were intelligence-driven and appealed for timely and accurate information from the public. From the Defense Headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And with increasing cases of COVID-19 globally, Nigerians abroad have been advised to continue to abide by the directives and orders of their host countries. Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Goguryeo, gave the advice when she spoke on how Nigerians in the diaspora are coping with the virus spread in an interview with correspondent Mohammed in Abuja.
The federal government is taking measures in tackling the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Some of them include the closure of all land borders and international airports. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is following the development closely as it affects Nigerians abroad.
For Nigerians who have called that they were stranded in one place or the other, a lot of embassies have online contacts, so if you know that you're supposed to return but you're stranded because of closure of your country, then go to that embassy and apply for a change of status. Apply for an extension of your visa. They will listen to you. However, don't wait till 4 or 5 months later and say, oh, I stayed behind though because of coronavirus. Go there now and let them know you have a problem, and don't try to capitalize unnecessarily on the situation.
The chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Goguryeo, said Nigerians abroad are in contact with the commission and how to give their support to the country in its effort to contain the virus.
This is their own way of saying, well, we're far away, we can't do much but accept what we're doing. And that's the show of love and togetherness that we're saying that Nigerians should show at this point in time. So we continue to encourage that and continue to monitor one another.
She, however, called on all Nigerians to follow all the directives put forward by the federal government on the containment of the virus. Muhammad, NTA News.
In compliance with the federal government's directive on the COVID-19, management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has directed all office-based staff below management cadre across all its formations to work remotely from home with effect from today. Group Managing Director Malam Melekiari, in a press statement signed by Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Dr. Kenny Oberter, directed all NNPC strategic business units to activate their business continuity plans immediately to ensure minimal disruption to operations while protecting staff from exposure to COVID-19. The NNPC leadership says since the outbreak of the coronavirus disease, the NNPC provides daily enlightenment to staff on how to keep themselves and their families safe from infection and ensures compulsory temperature check on all staff and visitors, frequent hand washing and the use of hand sanitizer at points of entry into the towers and all other locations of the corporation while maintaining social distancing at all times. Meanwhile, the NNPC has condoled with the family of engineer Suleiman Achimugu, a former managing director of the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, a subsidiary of the NNPC, who passed on in the early hours of Monday after a bout with COVID-19. Up ahead, explosion kills 47 soldiers. Details in a bit. Do stay. It's still the network news. We go to Ibadan now, where Kemi is waiting to bring us more news.
Thank you, Irie, and welcome to Ibadan. Disease surveillance centers and notification system offices have been activated across Oyo State. Governor Seyi Makinde said the diagnostic centers will work in collaboration with the University College Hospital Ibadan to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Shola Wahid has the report.
The 2 diagnostic centers to be opened, according to the governor, are awaiting the Nigerian Center for Disease Control validation. The agents for testing already ordered are also being awaited. He maintained his ban on social gatherings, emphasizing that gatherings should be limited to 30 persons or less. Governor Makinde later paid an inspection visit to one of the isolation centers in Jericho, where he promised to make available 100 bed spaces for affected persons, adequate facilities, and necessary medical attention to address COVID-19 pandemic.
With the confirmation of the first case and a clear understanding of how this disease can be transmitted, it cannot remain business as usual. But these are the sacrifices we need to make to preserve and protect our loved ones.
In the meantime, the work from home directive by head of service of the Federation for non-essential federal workers has taken effect.
So as it is now, all my staff
have left for home, except those that are on essential services.
In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NT News.
Osun State government urges residents not to panic as proactive steps have been put in place to avoid the spread of coronavirus pandemic in the state. Governor Goguryeo gave this indication in a statewide broadcast on COVID-19. Correspondent Temitope Odebumi has the details.
Although no record of COVID-19 yet in Osun State, Governor Oyetola in a statewide broadcast said government has taken proactive measures by bringing in experts in respective fields in order to keep people safe from coronavirus. Governor Goguryeo enjoined all citizens to strictly observe high level of personal hygiene and avoid non-essential travels within the country.
We are also in partnership with the African Center of Excellence in Genomics of Infectious Diseases, ATEDE, for easy investigation. We also created a holding center to isolate and treat possible reported cases.
The government urged the people not to panic, but cooperate with the government by obeying the instructions and directive. In Oshogbo, Temitope Odebumi, NTA News.
That does it from here. I read back to you.
Thank you, Kemi. The Ministry of Women Affairs is concerned about the burden that may fall on women as home managers with the stay-at-home orders as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The Minister of Women Affairs, appreciating efforts of Nigerian women, gives tips on how to deal with some of the strain. Momso Damian Dati reports.
Noting the additional burden for women at the home front and in community management, given poor financial and health status, plus weak supply chains, the minister says there will be
reduced participation in food production and the agricultural value chain, increased pressure on food preparation, serving, preservation, storage, and informal food vendor subsector, caring for the children, the youth, and the elderly, and also ensuring continued education for school-age children, maintaining adequate sanitation levels of homes, neighborhoods, and the community, ensuring that recreational and health needs are met even under the shutdown circumstances.
She therefore entreats women, especially mothers, to
comply with state directives and adhere to these basic guidelines. Sanitization instructions, including washing of hands with soap and water, use of sanitizers, and fumigation of the home and environment.
The minister appeals to all state commissioners of women affairs to update the federal ministry on daily basis. She also calls for support from corporate organizations and good-hearted individuals to families at this crucial moment. Momso Damian Lati, NTA News.
A report just reaching us says that the former governor of Lagos State and APC national leader Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has urged Lagos residents to support government in a war against COVID-19 by obeying directives and advisories being issued. He made the appeal while speaking with newsmen at Government House, Marina, Lagos.
From one another, stop the handshake, do what is necessary to protect the citizens. If you can save lives. No, we don't have enough hospital spaces. It's not only by prayer, it's by us observing that it is necessary to respect the information that is ravaging, that the disease that is ravaging the rest of the world.
Time now to join Mohammed in Maiduguri for more on the news tonight.
Thank you, Henry, and welcome to Maiduguri. Borno State government has set up a high-powered committee on containment and response to the outbreak of coronavirus pandemic in the country. Governor Babagana Umara inaugurated the committee with the state deputy governor as chairman and membership drawn from relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as donor partners. Mohammed Goni reports.
The setting up of the high-powered committee followed an initial directive issued by the state governor, Professor Bagana Umara, to Minister of Health and other line ministries and parastatals, as well as donor partners to meet under the Chief of Staff Government House, Dr. Babagana Wakil, to consider level of preparedness of the state government, taking cognizance of the unfolding scenario both at the global and national level on the outbreak of COVID-19. The committee, under the leadership of Chief of Staff, had sworn into action with presentation of an action plan, and the feedback were received from Ministries of Education, Transport, Local Government and Emirate Affairs, SEMA, as well as development partners. The Chief of Staff Committee also put forward recommendation to the state government, which includes setting up of a high-powered committee on responses and containment of COVID-19. And schools have to hasten up academic activities to close down in the next 1 week. Governor Bagana Umara restated commitment of the state government to ensure that COVID-19 pandemic is not imported into the state. Chairman of the high-powered committee, Deputy Governor Umar Usman Kadafur, assured that all necessary responses measures will be taken to contain the pandemic. Health Commissioner Dr. Salihu Kwayabra said the high-powered committee is to coordinate responses to the COVID-19 pandemic with a view to prevent importation of the disease into the state. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
It from Maiduguri is back to Yenre in Abuja.
Done with coronavirus now, victory against insurgents in the northeast has come at a heavy price for the armed forces of Nigeria, which says it has lost 47 soldiers with 15 wounded in an explosion at Goguryeo Alaganu Forest Axis in Borno State. Correspondent Najatu Tijani reports.
Though they defeated Boko Haram terrorists in a clearance operation codenamed Lafia Duli, a freak accident dampened their joy. After conducting clearance operations in Alagarno Forest Axis in Borno State, the Nigerian military says an unfortunate accident claimed the lives of 47 soldiers and injuring 15 others when a supply truck carrying ammunition, food and fuel was hit, causing the explosion. The Nigerian military stresses that the accident was not caused by Boko Haram.
It's the support troops that came for reinforcement to give us supplies that was hit. And once that was hit, there was something like an explosion. Of course, when you fire into bombs, ammunition of artillery, it will have a ripple effect. It was that explosion that caught fire and then killed most of our troops from shrapnels amongst others. So it is not that that enemy, Boko Haram terrorists, that were firing our troops and then, did that. And after that, we called for close air support. The other Boko Haram terrorists in that ambush, they leveled all of them.
The Nigerian military says it owes it to Nigerians to be open and transparent and will continue to sustain its tempo against the insurgents and terrorists. In the meantime, the nation continues to mourn the fallen heroes. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari expresses grief over loss of soldiers ambushed by terrorists in Goguryeo village, Borno State, describes their sacrifices as one that cannot be quantified. In a statement, the president commiserates with the families and those that sustained injuries, expressing deep concern over the unfortunate incident. President Buhari says the soldiers be not deterred, as the country cannot allow anarchists and mass murderers to hold the country hostage. The president also assured that his administration will continue to motivate and equip the Nigerian armed forces adequately in order to cope with the complex challenges of unconventional warfare. Meanwhile, the Nigerian army has dispatched a team to assess the situation and report back to the government. Time for a short break. Do stay.
The family of Obi Lucas Owashile Motune Opuno wishes to announce the postponement of all burial arrangements earlier made in honor of Chief Uche Luke Opuno Ugoahaba. This is in compliance with the federal government of Nigeria's restriction on large public gatherings and directives on social distancing aimed at containing and combating the dreaded pandemic of COVID-19. A new burial date will be announced as soon as normalcy is restored. We sincerely apologize for the inconveniences this postponement may have caused you all. Announcer Ogboeshi Felix Ikemefuna Opuno.
And that's Network News Tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ian Ray John. Good night.